Yeah, sorry, I was just getting my cushion, my wobble cushion. I don't know if you've got a wobble cushion, but if you are working from home, I definitely recommend it. It's, I'll tell you what it looks like. This is really going off tangent. This is one of these. It's not painful, I promise. But what it does is if you're working from home or just working anywhere, you don't have to be at home, it kind of gives you these little micro movements. So it's kind of always moving your muscles a little bit, which is really healthy for us actually. But I'm not going to be talking about wobble cushions for much longer, but they are a pretty good thing to have if you're working at home on a laptop for most of the time. Okay, cool. Right, thanks for joining. So I'm going to talk about something I haven't talked about in ages. What was that? I don't know, I was looking at social media earlier. And then I saw this really good magazine article I hadn't read. No, I'm talking about distractions. That's just me trying to be funny because it's Friday night. Anyway, so getting distracted, is that a word? Distracted, really, really common. We all do it. I've done it. I don't know why, but I used to, many years ago, before I went out, because I'm a person that's interested in a lot of things, I used to kind of go, oh, hang on a minute, let me just look at this. Let me just look at this email. And I'd be late for something, you know. And I hate people being late. I didn't do it all the time. In fact, I think it was when I was like dating, when I was younger, which kind of led me to believe was how bothered was I about dating, but also I was sabotaging my own success, probably a little bit obsessed with work. And sometimes it took me a little while to realise, why am I so stressed out when I go out on a date, for example? I'm being really open with you now. Because I hate being rushed. I hate being in a rush. That's just me. I just like to do things. I don't like being overwhelmed, busy. I do everything I can to manage that because I go at 1,000,000 miles an hour when I'm overwhelmed, and it's not good. So I realised I was being my own worst enemy, that I was getting distracted by things. When I was getting distracted by things, I would be in a rush to go out. When I went out, I'd be stressed, and the other person would pick up on that energy. And I realised that was about my own distractions. And I think in this day and age, it's very, very common because we have so many different devices. There's so many bings, there's so many bongs going on. Sometimes, you know, especially if we're running our own business, there's, you know, all sorts of things to look at. Or, you know, if we look at our email inbox, you know, crazy. I also remember the first time that I got a BlackBerry. I don't know if you remember a BlackBerry device, but years ago I got my first BlackBerry device, and it was very exciting, and it was probably something to do with the novelty of it. Anyway, I let that device manage me. I did not manage it until one of my suppliers said to me, Sarah, you're one of the few people that sends me a message at 4 in the morning. And I thought, you're right. And the problem was, because I was doing that, it wasn't that I wanted, it was almost becoming a habit. It was becoming a distraction, you know, like, oh, hang on, I've got a message, therefore I must respond immediately. Otherwise they're going to think that I'm not doing my job properly. Some of that was about my own ego. Some of that was about me not managing the device. So like the device was managing me, I wasn't managing the device. Some of it was about insecurity, about wanting to prove myself, you know, in this role that I had was very senior. Problem is, it created this whole situation for me. You know, like when I talked about the example before, it created a lot of stress for me and getting overwhelmed because I was distracting myself. This actually created a whole world of pain for me, because what happened was I set things up so that people thought Sarah's always available. We can contact Sarah at any time. And I had to unpick all of that and start again and stop responding to things. And it was just because this BlackBerry was sitting there and it was a distraction. So we have to be really, really careful to think through, what are the consequences of this distraction? Is it that your partner's going to be annoyed of you because you haven't taken the rubbish out? Is it that, you know, you're going to be late for a date? Is it that It's easier to pick up the phone, it's easier to look at the iPad rather than focus on that presentation that's got a deadline within the next 20 minutes. We all do it, and we all have to work at it. And to be honest, I'm just going to say it, sometimes we are productive, sometimes we're not. Depends what else is going on in our life, depends how much exercise, whether we slept well, you know, hormones, all of that kind of stuff happens, you know. So sometimes we do have times where we don't feel as productive, and that's okay as long as it doesn't go on forever. And when you are productive, you kind of ride the crest of the wave with it. You know, we're not machines, we're not robots, so let's kind of get rid of that one automatically. So let's think about, what are your distractions? What distracts you? Where do you find your having some, where are these distractions having an impact on your life? What is the distraction, and what is the consequence of that on your life and your relationships and everything else? So have a think about that. I mean, for example, gaming, right? Video games, do we even call those that anymore? I don't know, I don't do gaming. So gaming, you know, might be something you really enjoy, right? If it's tipping over into, I've just got a warning from work because I've been like mucking about on the video games or gaming, that's where it becomes an issue, where it's impacting other areas of your life. Or your wife is like, do you know what, I'm fed up with this, I'm going to run off with the milkman. That's obviously having an impact on your life. It's affecting other areas of your life. It can be a way of escaping responsibilities, of escaping difficult situations. In the example of a partner or a wife, how happy are you in your relationship? Are you putting off are you putting off a conversation that's like, hey babe, you know, this is how I'm feeling at the moment? Is it that you're not happy in your job, and it's like, I really need to face the fact I'm not happy in my job? It's because sometimes we distract to create a situation, to create a drama, where then it's like, well, do you know what, I didn't want that relationship anyway, I didn't want that job anyway. So be aware of that. Is it just that you're getting distracted? You know, what's the reason behind the distraction? Is it, I'm just getting distracted because I just want to do that and I've got, my willpower's feeling a little bit weak today? Or is it, I'm actually putting something off, you know, and by doing that, you kind of create another situation, a bit of a mini driver. She's an actress. What's going on with my words? A mini drama that means you can avoid dealing with the actual situation at hand. So have a think about that. Think about those situations where you have got distracted and what's going on for you. So that's really important to think about. Some of the things that I see with my clients, excuse me, is that if you have a to-do list at work, if you have a to-do list at home, take it, cut it in half. Because sometimes what happens is, if we create to-do lists, if you're a kind of list person, if we create to-do lists, we can set ourselves up to fail, because sometimes these to-do lists can be like that. And I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you've had this experience in your career, in your work, being at home. Sometimes that list needs to be at least 50%, you know, shorter. We need to chop it in half, because we can set ourselves up to fail. You know, it's great being organised, it's great to find out organisational tools to help us get organised, and it's great to sort of set ourselves like time limits for doing certain things and figure out how much time have I got to do this. But let's not go overboard with the lists, because sometimes we can set ourselves up to fail. Obviously, things like our phone, our devices and social media. I don't know about you, but I mean, I do social media obviously for my business. And I very often have like administrative jobs I need to do. So for example, for LinkedIn, I schedule all my posts for the week. And I sort of think, oh, only take 5 minutes. And I actually timed myself today, and it took about an hour and a half. So I just need to be realistic about that, about this to-do list. But in social media generally, I don't know about you, but there's so many distractions, there's so many notifications. Just because you get notifications, it's like emails in the inbox, doesn't mean you have to respond automatically. I don't know about you, but it really annoys me when people are really pushy with me on social media. Like I've got someone on Instagram at the moment, hey, have I lost you? Hey, where have you gone? And it's like, you've only messaged me 2 minutes ago. You're actually quite annoying because I have got a life, you know. So let your social media, you know, be an enhancement to your life, to connect with friends, whatever you use it for. You know, if it helps, just like turn off the notifications, maybe just have it, look at it a couple of times a day, not all the time, because otherwise it can get addictive. We sort of program in these physical behaviours and these mental behaviours before we know it. Once we've done that a certain amount of times, it becomes habit, you know. And I know I have to watch that in myself, and I've been learning to put my phone physically somewhere else, you know, if I've got other things to do, because it's too easy to get distracted. So when distraction happens from an activity outside of us, then usually, by definition, it's an external factor. Usually it is, you know, happens through the environment or objects or things around us. When distraction happens within us, and you know, that occurs from our thoughts, our feelings and our emotions. So have a think about, is it just the mobile phone? Is it just the video game or I don't even know what we call these things these days. Is it the thing, or is it something inside me? Like I gave with those examples earlier. Is there a feeling? Is there a thought? Is there an emotion that I'm sort of avoiding and using the distraction to do that? So have a think about whether that's it is purely the external thing, the gadget, the phone call, the email inbox that never empties. And by the way, don't even try and go there if your email box is really like busy. Yes, we want to be timely with our responses, especially at work, but don't kill yourself trying to do it. Or is it something, a feeling or an emotion that we're trying to hide? So the example I gave earlier, that, you know, you sort of sit there on playing gaming all night and your girlfriend or your partner starts getting really annoyed about it. Is that because there's an internal feeling that you're not really confronting with your partner? So I hope that makes sense. Remind yourself that you need to get back to your original task. And I don't know if you guys plan your day. I've got loads of tools, loads of templates that can help you plan for your day, and be realistic about how much time something's going to take you. So in the example I gave earlier, you know, I'm very good at saying, oh, it'll only take 5 minutes because I know I can work quickly. But it doesn't mean I should always work quickly. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I should do it, and doesn't mean it's good for my health. So be mindful. Think about how many hours during the day I want to work, and be realistic with that to-do list, and really think about, right, sometimes it's not a bad idea to take how long you think something's going to take and double it, you know, like be really realistic with that. Be really realistic and remind yourself of the tasks that are the priorities. We're very, very good, I think, generally as human beings, of doing the things that we want to do. So there's a difference between like important and urgent. What we want to do is do the stuff that's really urgent, and be really clear about what's urgent. And particularly at work, if somebody's giving you stuff to do and giving you projects, be really clear about what the deadline is. Ask the question, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for failure. And that means you can plan what is urgent, what's important, what's a nice to do. There's a really, you know, so that's really, really important that you do that. There's a nice template that I've got. If anybody wants that template, it really helps you to decide what's urgent and important. Otherwise, we're just in a flurry all the time, and we're trying to do everything because everything's urgent, but everything isn't urgent. By definition, everything cannot be urgent. So we have to really prioritise and focus. Otherwise, we end up creating this vicious cycle where we're overwhelmed, overworking, and then we do just want to escape. We just want that distraction. We do want to pick up the iPad, you know, we do want to pick up the phone, we do want to like stick the telly on and watch the US election for however long that's going to go on for this week. So yeah, so think about that. Turn off your notifications, you know, and make sure, you know, if working at home at the moment, you've got a really good space where you can almost have your own space. It's a clean space. It's not like, I know that might be difficult for some of you. It's a nice, clean, business-like space. You know, you're getting yourself into the business mindset, the work mindset if you're working from home. You know, certainly when I'm doing calls and things like that, I find that how I dress really affects my my productivity. I get into a mindset of certain things by the way that I dress. So make sure you haven't got distractions around your workspace, and that you can find that sort of dedicated space for you, and it's not in your living area of your home. So it's like, work is here, the rest of my life is here, which I know may be tricky for some of us if we're living in small spaces and with family and things like that. You know, if things get really drastic, turn off your Wi-Fi. You know, if it's like, do you know what, I really need to get to sleep, but my mate's phoning, oh, that'd be nice to speak to them, you know, and your sleep is being affected, then just stick your phone on airplane mode, turn off the Wi-Fi, you know. So yeah, those are certain things that I can do. And another question you can ask yourself, some questions: what are my priorities for the day? What must I do? What will happen if I don't do them? And if something pops into your day, such as it does, ask yourself, do I need to act on this now, or is it purely a distraction? Think about that. Do I need to act on it now, and is it a distraction? And by the way, going back to the work example I gave earlier, if you get a project that does suddenly come upon you, as I mentioned before, ask what the deadline is and ask them to be realistic, and negotiate the deadline. If it doesn't feel realistic, don't kill yourself on behalf of somebody else. You know, get that realistic deadline, and then if needs be, talk to your team, talk to your manager and say, I've just been given this. What needs to move in the rest of my work for me to be able to do this? Because if somebody's going to give you something else to do, any reasonable person is going to understand there's a consequence for all of that. It's not about being difficult, it's about being proactive and not letting other people hijack your time. Because sometimes what's happened to me is when I've said, okay, that's interesting, so let me understand this project, this is what I've heard, and I've got the deadline. Okay, here's my other project, so which one of these should I move back in order to accommodate this, or which can I hand off to somebody else, or where can I get some help for that? And sometimes when you ask that question, it really focuses the other person, and it's like, maybe what I gave them isn't so urgent after all. It's all about managing your own life, being proactive in managing your life, yeah? So think about things. I know that's a very work-specific example. I gave another one earlier about how you can manage deadlines, etc. Do I need to act on it now, or is it a distraction? Will what I'm doing help or hinder my day? That's another great question. What is important for me to do right now in this moment? And if I don't do this, what is the consequence of not doing it? Or what is the consequence of this distraction? So ask yourself these questions, you know, be your own coach. Ask yourself, you know, be really open and honest with yourself. I mean, nobody's going to hear your answers anyway. And it's really good as well. I'm a really, you know, I love the idea of taking audits and snapshots of what we do with our time and our life and thoughts that pop in. So maybe you want to start keeping a log about, do you know what? It's like when you do your finances. I don't know about you, but I look at my finances on a regular basis, and I'm always recalibrating and going, hang on a minute, why am I spending so much on that? We need to bring awareness to what we're doing. So write down when you feel distracted, what you're doing, how long you're doing it. Just start to keep a little note of those somewhere. And you might find that you're like, oh my God, hang on a minute. I'm spending 7 hours a week on this, but hang on, I want this in my life and I want to achieve this. So maybe I need to rebalance up. How are these distractions holding me back from what is my true direction in life? Mindfulness, again, is a fantastic way to become mindful of distractions. Really focus on what you're doing in the present moment. You know, we all have stuff in our jobs that's a bit like cruddy, we don't want to do it, routine tasks. Maybe there is a way to find that more enjoyable, you know. Maybe just by becoming more mindful, thinking about the benefits of having done this. How am I going to feel when I've done this? And do that stuff that you put off first, because it feels great afterwards. And you're like, right, now I can do the stuff that I really enjoy. Otherwise, what we tend to do is keep front-loading other stuff that isn't important at all, and then we get distracted because we don't want to do the stuff that we didn't want to do in the first place. So get it done and become mindful. You know, there are things you can do to help minimize distractions from a mindfulness perspective. You can do things like moving your eyes from left to right, going round, following them down to your neck, look at your hands and look at your legs. So you can do a bit of a body scan. I know that sounds weird, but it's just a little, I really love these mindfulness moments of taking a breath, becoming fully aware of your presence, of what you're doing. You know, look, I know I've just looked like one of those moving pictures in horror films there, didn't I? But you know, sort of going, you know, not making your eyes look as weird as mine just have, but kind of going left, right, looking at your hands, looking at, and becoming aware of what you're actually doing at this point in time, because you are actually, you know, there's so much in the world we can't control and influence, but you can control. When I say control, I prefer the word master. I must start using that word a bit more. This is about self-mastery, how to get the results you want in life by managing things like distractions, because we all do it. You are in control of you. You've got the power and the ability to control these distractions, to control things, and start realizing what the impact is of not managing these distractions. So I've gone through loads of tools again tonight. I've given you loads of tools about how to handle work that comes in last minute, some mindfulness stuff, how you can start to understand what is driving those distractions and how often you do it, when you do it, what's going on for you. Some really key questions you can start asking yourself to understand, why am I getting distracted, and what kind of, you know, and simple things you can do to minimize distractions. So it's all on this video. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page now. If you want any tools or templates, as I mentioned earlier, about what's urgent, what's important, give me a shout, send me a message, and I'll happily send something to you that will help. Anyway, guys, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye.